In 2008, he entered Parliament, where he spent 2 terms, MP for Kwadaso, a place Kojo is very familiar with, Kwadaso in Ashanti, and he was MP for 2 terms. He was also Deputy Ranking Member and subsequently the Substantive Ranking Member for the Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs. And he was appointed Minister of Agric in 2017. He introduced the Planting for Food and Jobs, which was seen as a flagship program. And he was maintained because in 2021, he was one of the first names on the list of ministers to be maintained. And he is here with us. I need to also say that as I traveled around the country last week, from Accra to Cape Coast to Atuabo to Sunyai, through Mim, Goso, Kenyase, went all the way through to Wenchi, and then I drove through Bamboy, got to Bole, turned on the Fufusu Sola Road, hit Sola, entered up in Tamale, went to all the way to Bolga and Paga. I couldn't help but notice his posters around as well. So he's quite visible in the country as well. And we'll be talking to him. I'm here with Kojo as well. And for those of you watching on television, thank you for joining us. Honorable Doctor, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing extremely well.
Amazing. How is the sector that you oversee?
Sector is bubbling with life.
How do you assess that? How do you get to know what's going on? Do you have like daily reports? Is it your field workers? Because your sector is such a huge sector. So how do you keep a pulse on the agri sector?
We have a lot of workers around the country.
Mm-hmm.
At the headquarters, we have 13 directorates.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the regions, we have the directorates, the regional directorates. Every district has a district director of agriculture. Mm-hmm. Under him, there are loads of extension officers who are working shoulder to shoulder with the farmers on the application of modern technology. So it's Hydra-like arrangement where we are everywhere in this country. Some of the workers, apart from those working with the farmers, are also collecting data on the major markets, on prices, wholesale prices of food stuff, and all that. In addition to that, of course, the ministry is a supervisory ministry for the great cocoa industry in this country. So we have a lot on our hands. And we don't just sit in the office. We are out in the field most of the time. Myself, apart from reports which are coming from the field through the district, regional to headquarters, we also do, of course, the policy from the headquarters. We have a close relationship with the Ministry of Local Government because the district chief executives and the district assemblies are very major stakeholders in the agricultural space. We also have very close links with the Ministry of Trade and Industry because of agro-processing and all that. So it's a heavily loaded ministry.
It's a huge undertaking.
If you are a lazy man, you don't go there.
So what was the objective that you set for yourself when you were appointed in 2017? Because you've been repeated. So for the past 5 years, I think, what is the...
The objective is very clear. Mm-hmm. You see, I sat in Parliament in opposition, watching the NDC manage the agricultural sector. And if you may recall, I wasn't quiet about the disappointment I felt about the way they were handling agriculture. Agriculture was going down. The rate of growth was going down. Amounts of money allocated in the budgets were going down. Yields, everything, you know. So before then, of course, I myself am a farmer. People don't know, but I'm one of the biggest farmers in Ghana, very quietly, working away on my plantations and all that. So I have first-hand knowledge, and of course, the area that academically I've been involved in is agriculture. So my career, everything is agriculture. So it was a big lesson for me, like going to school, sitting in Parliament, in charge of agriculture for the opposition, and I knew exactly what I would do if God gave the chance to me, and he did. The president appointed me to the position and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was to focus on smallholder agriculture, smallholders who up to now produce about 90% of total agricultural output. Help them to increase their productivity, because their productivity was one of the lowest in the world. In fact, even by West African standards, our yields were very low and all that. So hence the Planting for Food and Jobs, which I brought on the scene even before I saw my oath in Parliament. I'd announced it at Legon at the New Year School in 2017. So I knew exactly where I wanted to go. And I've been on that road since in the last 5 years.
How do you assess that program yourself?
Program has been extremely successful.
Extremely?
Yes. It's changed, first of all, psychologically. It's changed the attitude of people of Ghana towards agriculture. It's demonstrated that if you are an individual, you have money, you go into agriculture, you can make more money. It says that if agriculture is your lifeline, it's not just you feeding yourself, but you can make a surplus money to take care of your family, to make them comfortable and all that. So the youth and a lot of now business people, middle class people are now going into agriculture. And I think with that, I've achieved my objective of demonstrating that it's not just villagers or illiterates who do it, but that it is something for the future of this country. So if you look at the modules that I have produced in the 5 modules, it takes care of everything. The tree crop module, where we are trying to diversify from cocoa to other tree crops to give us a lot of foreign exchange. The food security, we're talking about grains and so on, increasing yields and production. You're talking about livestock, which is rearing for food and jobs. You're talking about mechanization, vegetables, greenhouses. All these are all part of the components of what we call planting for food and jobs. And in each of the areas, I'm very happy with the success that...
Is your success, are you saying it was successful and it still is? Because if you ask some people about the state of agriculture now, they would say that things have gone south. If you look, for example, food inflation over the past year, if the objective of planting for food and jobs for food security, of which food availability, food access is one of it, then you could say that if you look at the recent trend in food prices, that's a serious dent on the claim that PFG has been extremely successful.
It is not. Let me explain to you. You see, food is bulky, high transportation cost. So if anything happens on the world market to oil prices, you have a hit on food prices. If anything happens to major chemical inputs for farming, fertilizers and so on, you have a hit. But these are not just for specifically for food, it's for everything. So like in America, for the first time, you have inflation hitting 7.3%. In Ghana, we announced last week, also said the Ministry of Finance, that we have a situation where inflation is going back
to 15.7%.
And it's not only in Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, everywhere. So it's a global phenomenon. That doesn't mean that our programs are not successful. Farmers have demonstrated that if you give them the little help, they will run with it. And that vitality is very much with us, and it's actually increasing. I mean, people, the kind of inquiries that we are getting at the ministry now, you'll be amazed from all kinds of angles, from those abroad, those local people, those in the other businesses and so on, all are flocking into agriculture because they've seen that with what we have done, it's opening up huge opportunities. And not only that, you see, we put it on a certain level, and that level is sustainable only if we concentrate on the value chain, and otherwise turning the raw material the farmers are producing into industrial products, packaging and all those things, branding and all those things to try and get additional value.
Okay, so let's press this a bit. I get your point when you say, even from a psychological point, the way people feel about farming has changed. I'll give you that. You're also talking about productivity and yields.
Yes.
I cannot argue with that. But there are a couple of other points people raise when we talk about the objectives of a big policy like PFJ, when you look at the amount of input. So let me give you like three. So on the inflation point, I wasn't just saying right now. If you look at inflation time series for, say, the past 2.5 years, food inflation has trended upwards. It came down early 2021 and started trending up very, very fast. Now it's at 17.4% from a low of 5.4% May last year. That is point number one. Point number two, one of the objectives of a policy like PFJ should be import substitution.
Yes.
So when you produce a lot more food, particularly the grains, your imports of certain items should be coming down. There is a concern that rice importation is not coming down as quickly as we see and hear that rice production is going up. So the import substitution side is a second issue. Third issue, if you permit me, there was a recent study about food security, and Ghana's position on the food security index, when you compare 2016 to 2021, has actually fallen. Now, that cannot be the state of a country which is doing well with food production. And if you permit me, I'll actually read the excerpt of that report for you to make the point. So this is a recent report which was put out by the Economics Intelligence Unit. Ghana's decline in food security index. Just give me 2 paragraphs. Ghana declined from 78th position in 2016 to 82nd position in 2021 on the Global Food Security Index, published by the EIU. The GFSI considers the issues of food affordability, availability, quality, and safety, and it looks at 113 countries. Then they talk about what the index is. Now, in 2016, Ghana was 76th. This was before you took over. 2021, last year, we went to 82. So we can question your claim that PFJ has been extremely successful in the face of these 3 pieces of evidence.
No, the thing is that the studies you are quoting, I don't have access to them. I don't have it. So I cannot really challenge what you're saying. And if I cannot challenge it, doesn't mean that what they are saying is a reflection of reality on the ground. There's no organization in the world that has more observers in the field than Ministry of Food and Agriculture. If we are quoting from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, then I will have a basis on where to challenge you. But you see, this is being very selective. They're talking about a whole sector of the economy. Huge sector of the economy. If you choose and pick specific areas and say, oh, this person has done this study, and I don't even know the basis of that study, and you expect me to comment, I cannot comment. All what I know is the data coming into me from my people in the field. And I'm saying that on the basis of data from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, this agricultural economy is doing very well.
But I also gave you food inflation figures, which is from the Statistical Service. So that's not from...
No, that one I'm saying that there are factors. You're talking about food prices in the markets, not at the farm gate. If you're talking about food prices at the farm gate, then it's a different situation. Cost of production is a major determinant of prices at the farm gate. Transport is a major determinant of prices in the markets, in the retail areas and wholesale areas. And those have admitted that we don't have any control. Last year, in January, we had a situation where world price of oil was $50. It went as high as $131, and it's just come down to around $100. We have no control. Fertilizer prices, urea, was $350 per metric ton, landed at the port of Tema only 18 months ago. It went as high as $1,200. Now I don't even know where it is with the what is happening in Ukraine. So these are factors that are beyond us. But it doesn't mean that because the prices have gone up, farmers have given up on the use of them, of these items. The essence of subsidizing fertilizer and seed was very demonstrative, that the farmers were encouraged to apply these technical inputs and that they will see a change in their lifestyle, in their lives, in terms of the productivity, high production, and so on, using what I call the same sweat that application.
So let me get this straight. Is the PFJ focused purely on production? Should it not include the storage, for example, so that if you have an excess of, say, maize, you would have silos to keep them so that when there is a lean season or when something happens, there will still be grains available? Or is it just a production-based policy?
It's production-based. First of all, to increase productivity on farm, because Ghana has one of the lowest yields on earth, and that we've managed to achieve. Before we came, on average, Ghanaian farmers were applying 8 kilograms of fertilizer per hectare.
Hectare?
Yes.
Okay.
8 kilograms per hectare.
Wow.
The world average is 130.
Okay.
You go to China, it's 300 kilograms per hectare. The ECOWAS average target is 50 kilograms per hectare. The Ghanaian was doing only 8. We've managed through Planting for Food and Jobs to increase it to 25 as we speak, which is still only half of the ECOWAS heads of state average of 207. So we still have a long way to go. In addition to that, improved seeds application 2017, we're able to distribute only 4,400 improved grain seeds to farmers. Last year we did nearly 40,000 metric tons. I mean, you cannot tell me that you infuse such huge amounts of resources into farming and you get nothing. And then somebody says in London at the Economic Intelligence Unit, they failed.
No, but he's talking about food security as a holistic concept, not just increasing production in a year or two.
No, but that's the point I'm making to you, that all this is being financed by the Ghanaian taxpayer, you and me, to subsidize the farmer, to encourage him to apply fertilizer and improve seed. And the results have been fantastic.
Which is why the results should be sustainable.
Yes, of course it is sustainable. But we are just beginning the journey. As I told you, from 8 kilograms per hectare of fertilizer, we've now 25 kilograms per hectare. It's only, in the 25 is only half of what the ECOWAS target of 50. So we are very far away from the end of the journey.
Yeah, but the question is that I understand the input side of the equation. You're increasing fertilizer, you want to improve yields. Yeah. But I'm still going back to what is the objective of the policy? The policy's objective is not just to increase the production, but to make food available and affordable.
Absolutely.
So did the policy contemplate on silos and storage?
It's the policy, not was.
Did the policy contemplate those? Because
of course we did. At the moment, we've built 1,000 metric ton warehouses around the country. Okay, when we came in, the total amount of fertilizer of warehouse space at the ministry was only 34,000 metric tons. We managed to convince our colleagues in cabinet to let us build 80 warehouses, 80,000. They just late last year, been handed over to me. 80,000 1,000 unit warehouses around the country.
For storage of what?
Of course, for storage for grains.
So do you know how much maize, for example, we have in stock?
No, we haven't gotten there. This is what I'm saying.
But if we've produced and we have there...
Wait, please.
Or where are we gotten to?
Let me explain to you. Let's take our time. Let me explain to you. I told you we just taken over these warehouses. Okay? And I can take you around the country to see for yourself exactly what I'm talking about. So, very much we had in mind infrastructure as part of the management of the surpluses coming. We anticipated that. That's why we were able to build in 4 years 1,000 metric ton units. It's now the time to manage these warehouses. So we are now in the process of going to cabinet for the creation of the Grains Development Authority. So you need to have an institution to manage these things. You cannot just leave it to individuals. So the Grains Development Authority is now going to take over these warehouses to manage in terms of buying surpluses during the harvesting season, store them and release them to stakeholders in the dry season when food.
So first, as an example, should you not make the storage capacity ready so that once you have a bumper harvest of maize, you store it? Because I'm asking because in the past 3 months, poultry farmers have been complaining about lack of maize. And previously we had
lack of maize. They're complaining about the price of maize.
No, some say they don't get maize.
No.
Oh well, over there, I can even play audios for you.
How many of them?
Oh, I mean, the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association.
No.
Different groups have called us and said they don't have access. This was even before
access
Christmas.
To maize.
They said they couldn't get maize.
I'm amazed.
So there were two issues.
Came to us, we show them where to go.
So there were two things. There was feed complaints, and then there was maize. And yes, there was also complaints about maize prices. My question is that if you had a bumper harvest in the previous year of maize, is that not where the issue of strategic stock comes in? So that when there's a challenge with production another year, there will be enough maize to go around.
Please, Rome was not built in a day. These are things, and resources are limited. In management, we have something we call priorities. The first thing, you're going to build the warehouses and you don't have production. What is the use of it? So you have to focus on getting farmers to produce more. And once that is working, you turn your attention to the infrastructure. That's precisely what we are doing. It makes a lot of sense.
But the production is vacillating. So if you produce more this year, next year you may lose.
No,
so if you don't store what
you...
No, I'm not.
You may lose. Please don't let's.
But I'm saying that let's no problem.
Let's focus on the reality. Don't speculate by saying
I'm saying
next
that
year you may lose.
This is not the evidence of what the poultry farmers have been saying for the past year suggests that either there wasn't enough maize or they couldn't afford it. That is a fact.
They can't afford it
for their feed. That's why the poultry farmers are saying they don't have access to feed.
No,
they don't have access to maize.
If they say they don't have access to maize, I will challenge them. Feed and maize are
of course,
is a component.
Yes.
Maize is a component of poultry feed. Maize and soya plus some additives make up feed. So let's get it clear and don't let's make
No, we know.
No, if you know, you wouldn't say maize and feed.
Because it was both. It was both. Maybe you want me to read the question.
I think what Bernard is trying to say is that, like 2018, from the ministry's research department, we produced 637,000 metric tons of maize in the country. And then fast forward...
No. Please. Ghana has the highest before we came into office. Maize production in Ghana was highest was 1.8 million metric tons. We've increased that to 3.1 million tons by 2021. By 2020.
Oh, no,
so it's not 600,000.
This is the document I'm reading from the ministry. I was just trying to build from that. Ministry of Food and Agric Operational Performance 2017-2018 PFG. So I was trying to build on that.
And the total production is what? Of maize is what?
According to this...
it's never 630.
Then maybe whoever put the data there put it wrongly. Because this is table 4, area cultivated and output. And under maize, area cultivated 2018 was 218,000 hectares for output of 637,000 metric tons. I know that around 2020, you said that we're not importing maize because we're producing more maize than we needed. And then in the poultry feed space, we need soya, we need maize. Now, what is the current production based on the requirement of the market? You get my point?
No, I think you are being too technical here.
Okay.
You are asking me statistics. I cannot sit here and give you specifics. But if you say that Ghana's total production of maize is 600 and something thousand, I will challenge you to that. It's not true.
I'm not saying now. I'm saying in 2018.
No.
It was 637 according to this MOFA document.
No, please. Then it's a wrong document. You can take it from me. No.
Okay, let me read it.
I've been in this business for decades.
You know, he is quoting. You know, I think for me, I don't even want us to split hairs over this. There are different sources of data. The point we are raising about maize. Let me read this story to you. This story was just last year. The Ghana Poultry Farmers Association, this is July 13, 2021. The Ghana Poultry Farmers Association fears Ghana's poultry industry risks collapse if government fails to swiftly deal with recent challenges of feed for poultry. This comes as poultry farmers across the country currently are faced with scarcity and high cost of maize and other ingredients needed in their industry. Speaking to Citi Business News on the development, President of the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association, Michael Nyakwampim, said, "There is a looming danger if the challenges are not addressed. We do not have the cereals such as maize, soya, and wheat bran available to work. So we are having imminent shutdowns, and what we are seeing is there's a looming total shutdown. We want to avert this because GAFA alone has about 1,775 farmers, and we cannot have a situation where people whose businesses are just poultry farming would have their businesses collapse." So this is the information.
So this statement was when?
This is July 2021, so last year.
Okay, so the industry has collapsed by now. I mean, these are, you see, we are in a very comfortable situation. Before 2017, we were importing food into this country, even plantain from Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, now we are not talking about human consumption of food. We are talking about for animals. We have so much surplus now. We are talking about animal food. So it really shows you, and I'm saying that we have statistics to show the amount of food that we are exporting to neighboring countries, that has been going up. If we didn't have a surplus, how could we be selling food to our neighbors? That's the question. So if somebody comes in and talks about animal sector, production of feed, I accept in 2020 we were hit by a massive drought in the forest belt of Ghana, which reduced production of maize and other grains. And for the first time, every 4 or 5 years, we have this hit. You go back 50 years, every 4 or 5 years, there's a drought. So we've been lucky. We were lucky from 2017 till 2020 when this drought happened. But it was ameliorated by the increased production of planting for food and jobs in the Savannah region. And of course, if you have a sudden drop in production, it has to affect prices and the availability on the market. That is what the farmers were talking about. So it does not affect the body of the policy that we are pursuing. And so it's just picking here and picking there. You lose sight of the overall policy objective that we are following, which is to transform agriculture in Ghana. And the efforts that this government have made, the amount of resources, money that the taxpayers' money we spent in pursuing that, and the output is very commendable. And everybody who's in this area of agriculture, both international, the continental, regional, ECOWAS, acknowledges that Ghana has done exceptionally well.
And I want to point out that we are not questioning the input into the sector or the effort.
No, the performance.
I think a lot of what people are raising, some of the reports I'm reading, are talking about the outcomes, whether it's commensurate with the level of input.
Oh, of course.
So if you're putting the fertilizer and all these things.
I can also give you evidence. I can show you for 24 hours people in the field who are really commending us for what we are doing. Okay,
I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that.
Just stay on the negative.
No.
Say, oh, these people
but
are saying,
I'm just making a general point that
nitpick and say, oh, these people are quotation from this. And
but you see, when I quote an EIU report on food security, of which you know what food security is, which is a component, it has many components, and you say because you've not seen the report, you cannot comment on it.
Of course.
Obviously, food security as an objective of an important policy like PFJ should be of concern to you.
I am not saying it's not of concern. I'm challenging the basis of that conclusion that he's drawing, that Ghana's food security has gone down.
Did you question the food security index in 2016? Because this is an index that is used
No.
widely.
What I'm saying is that I am the Minister for Food and Agriculture. I'm in charge of all the data generated in this country. And all the data, they come to my office. We do the analysis. We are not getting the picture that you are trying to paint with this EIU study.
But it's not just EIU.
No. But
let me read more for you. If you think I'm just... let me give you more. Just a few more.
I can also quote a lot of World Bank. I can quote Commonwealth. I can quote ECOWAS.
It would be nice to hear you quote them.
Yeah, but I'm not here to do that.
Because they are
sorry,
because because you said because Agric has so many people interested. You already said that there are different people looking at the sector. Yeah. So it's understandable where GAU, different groups, Food Security Ghana, they are all commenting on the sector. If those comments are negative,
there are other institutions also commenting on the sector that you are not quoting. That's the point I'm making to you.
Then tell me. Then I'm
not here.
I'm reading what is available.
No, I'm not here to teach you.
No, but you said.
But you're talking about the negatives.
No problem. No, it's because your premise is that the PFG has been extremely successful.
Yes.
And
I'll maintain that.
And in terms produced enough food for humans, and we are even getting some for animals.
And not only that, we are exporting. We are exporting to our neighbors.
That's the premise why I asked our food needs and our production, so that we will get a sense of the excesses we are exporting. For example,
I can give you the statistics directly.
Over the past 2 years, we've had comments from senior high schools of food shortages within the senior high schools.
No, that's a management problem.
And the food they eat is practically green.
But can you let him ask the question?
No, the thing is
but you can't. You see, if a man doesn't land with his question, your answer in the middle does not help because you don't know where he's going with the question.
That's a management problem. The school feeding program is not...
No, but it's all related. If, for example, we have enough food and yet the buffer stock system isn't able to manage the food supply to schools, again, it impinges because your job in producing the food is to make sure people have access to it. And the Agric ministry is one of the most important ministries because every industry is touched by it. So even if there are sectors within your downstream which are not managing the surplus right, it should be of concern to you. Yeah. Because when the president asks you where we are with food security, you can't just say, well, we produced excess rice 2 years ago, therefore I've done my job. You have to go to say to him that apart from what we produced, we stored it and managed it in a way that made food available to everybody.
We don't have the storage until now. This is why I said that we just handed over to me 80 warehouses of 1,000 metric ton capacity. So I cannot say that we stored it. Where is the money to buy to store? Where were we going to store it? So
but the storage is part of your mandate.
Yeah, of course. This is why we are building warehouses.
So that's why you have to admit that. So then you can't say the policy has been extremely successful because the policy is not just about food production.
No.
Because the objective of the policy is food security, not just making a bumper harvest in 1 year.
No. First of all, the food should be available.
Mm-hmm.
And before then, the food was not available. That's why we're importing food from Cote d'Ivoire, even plantains from Cote d'Ivoire.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the reverse. You go to Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, Agogo. Plantain farmers have hired a site where they are marketing their plantain. Okay? That one, you don't talk about it.
Well, you are just telling me. You haven't even told me the source.
Oh, you don't know.
No,
I have sent people there. They filmed it and everything, and it's in the papers.
I can only use what is available to me.
No, that's selective.
No. I reject that.
Yeah.
I reject that.
No, because otherwise there are a lot of evidence.
Because we've admitted increase in food production from the Ministry of Agric. We have conceded that rice production has increased based on official statistics. So it will not be fair for you to say we selectively use data.
No, you have, because all the things that you're quoting people.
I'm quoting
reports.
Are
saying, no, reports, but you're not quoting reports which are acknowledging that our program has been successful. That's why I have
on the production side, that acknowledgement has been made.
Supply is supply. If the food production is not there can be no supply. The food production is there because we've used taxpayers' money to subsidize technological inputs for farmers to apply, and the results are showing. So let's stay on that aggregated level than being quoting specific, this group is saying this group is saying that, and forgetting that there are other developments which are positive.
So just to clarify and end that segment and move forward, you are an Agric economist as well. And you've explained some of the challenges in the value chain that can affect price. So if I'm coming, so what do you think we need to do to reverse the upward trend of food inflation?
We have two areas that we have no control of, as I told you. Food inflation made of a cost of production on the farm, the transportation to the markets, and the component of the transportation is to do with oil. Ghana is a net importer of oil. So what happens on the world market, I have no control. We don't produce fertilizers in this country. We have to import fertilizers. So if prices of global fertilizers go up 3 times, we have no control. These are elements which drive costs. So in those areas, if you are going to judge us based on the prices at the retail, at the wholesale, then you are not being fair to us. Okay? Because in those areas, we have no control. We don't produce these items in Ghana, and they have major impact on food prices. It's rather to look at the supplies in terms of production. I'm saying that we've managed to move, for instance, maize production from 1.8 million metric tons to 3.1 million. This year, we're expecting, if the rains are good, to go on to 3.5 and so on. So that's progress. See, these are evidence that is under our control. If you're saying because these prices are high, production has come down, that's a different issue. We're expecting production to go up in spite of these significant increases in these input prices.
Quick question on rice. Again, rice production has increased. There's a concern that some of the mills still don't have enough rice to mill.
Yes.
We have more milling capacity than we produce rice. What do you think is the bottleneck?
No, we don't have. It's the reverse. Our milling capacity is only 450,000 metric tons if you put all the mills together. We've done the calculations. We sat down with the millers. 450,000 metric tons. Our paddy production last year reached 1.1 million. So we have less than half of the milling capacity for. That's why the Nigerians come and take our paddy to go and mill and make all the money in their countries. And I'm trying to get investors to come and invest in the milling capacity. Even the current milling capacity, only about 70% of the or less is being used because the banks are refusing to give working capital to the millers. The banks have not helped us. And I keep saying that the commercial banks in this country have vacated agriculture, and in spite of all the life that we put into the sector, it's just sat on the sidelines watching us. And in fact, we've arranged a meeting with all the commercial banks and the governor and the president himself present for me to make the case to them that it's about time they came in because government has done enough with the taxpayers' money and they have to come in with agricultural credit and not only.
Quick question.
Farms.
In Nigeria, the central bank came up with a strategy where they made some funds available to some financial institutions to on-lend to farmers.
Yes.
They increased their milling capacity,
Yes,
and there was a Ghanaian involved. Is this something we should be thinking about doing? Using the central bank as the driver. That's what they did.
Yeah, but we have the gas cell here in the
Gas
of Ghana. But the amount of money to me is small. It's only 300 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
The Nigerians came in with $5 billion equivalent. We just had.
Kojo is a rice farmer. He has a couple of questions on rice.
The concern by rice farmers and millers and marketers is that when we produce, importers undercut the market because of the benchmark value-related matters, and we want that removed. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I stand with the farmers on that, and in fact, we are coming up with this, apart from the Grains Development Authority, which is going to regulate the market for grains, including rice. There's a specific executive instrument coming to say that to control the outflow of our grains to neighboring countries. We have to do that because we can't spend the taxpayers' money subsidizing production and then for neighbors who don't have any contribution to come and take advantage of that. So I'm very sympathetic with that position.
The other challenge is also fertilizer availability for the upcoming season. The data since PFJ started, we increased fertilizer 2017, 440,000 metric tons. Back then, that was the record for the year. 2020, we did over all-time best 600,000 metric tons. 2020, it dropped because of COVID and related matters. Now, Russia, Ukraine is also threatening fertilizer availability. Do we have any strategic stocks, or we have any sources of fertilizer that we are going to give to farmers this year to plant?
No, we don't have any source. We rely on the private sector to import fertilizers. Okay. And last year, we were caught on the hop in the sense that nobody knew there was going to be a sudden change in the world fertilizer market. So the shipments were a bit low and shortages arose and farmers complained and all that. This year, of course, it's a more organized, there will be a lot of fertilizer on the market, but most of it will be on the open market. See, there are two markets, the subsidy market and the open market. At least the open market will be there for farmers to go out there, but of course it will be more expensive than the subsidized market. So this year is going to be different, and we've done the stocks, those stocks on high seas, those Tama, Kumasi, Tamale, and we think that there will be adequate amounts, but the prices...
What about payment for some of the private fertilizer suppliers? Indeed, some of them sent message and said some of us have still not been paid for 2020 supplies under PFJ. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that was very unfortunate. I mean, I think since then the Ministry of Finance is making up for that. Most of them have been paid. There's still a little matter of about 85 million to sort it out completely, and I know that the Ministry of Finance is working on those.
Honorable, I'll ask you a question that our Tumu brothers and sisters have sent. Sisala East, Sisala West. You agree with me that they are two of the biggest maize producing districts in the country?
By far.
But their roads are amongst the worst in the country as well.
Well, we'll talk to the Ministry of Transport.
Of
roads, yes.
You have talked or you will talk?
Yeah,
or you will keep talking?
We are talking.
No, but their roads have been consistently amongst the worst in the country.
Well, I'm
You've
not
been
sure.
there several times.
I'm not sure about the road through Tumu all the way to the other side. That's a very good road. If you're talking about going off those roads,
yes,
then you can talk about Ashanti, Bronhafu, everywhere. I mean, it's not just specifically.
But because of the importance in the grains they produce,
yes,
for a place like Tumu, that should probably be a priority for you, shouldn't it?
Yes, I mean, we talk to the Minister of Roads.
Let me come to cocoa. So my question about cocoa is two things. Before you became minister, cocoa was under finance. When you were in opposition, you said that you felt cocoa should come under Agric, and the president agreed with you, and it brought cocoa under Agric. Then you introduced the living income differential program, launched I think in 2019. Would you say over a year and a half and 2 years it has worked?
Well, the living income differential is meant for the farmers, $400 per ton. When it came, we gave it all to the farmers. So as far as we are concerned, that objective has been achieved.
Are the multinationals cooperating?
Well, they are dragging their feet, and that is a subject for government to government, for the trade to bring pressure to bear on the trade to be faithful to the spirit of that agreement.
Again, I see you are very important to this president because you are one of the ministers he's not touched and you are quite close to him. Some people feel you could have been stronger in your defense of the question Kojo asked in relation to the benchmark values, because after the brouhaha, some of the farmers started speaking out. We haven't heard from the trade ministry nor the Agric ministry very forcefully. Is this a vexatious issue for the government? Is there division as to this benchmark value? Because obviously your stakeholders are the farmers, and it looks like traders are another stakeholder group. In fact, manufacturers and traders are under the trade ministry, but the farmers are in your side. Just give us a sense of the calculations around all that, because in 2019 Vice President announced the reduction of the benchmark policy. 2 years later, Finance Minister says we are reversing it. I get the sense there's a lot of disagreement within the government as to where we should go with that policy.
Not at all. I mean, this government is very united in this policy. We brought the policy. We see that it's not working. A listening government. We've listened to all sides in consultation. We've decided to take a peg down. And that's not the end of the story. We continue to review the situation and bring it where it belongs. But they are taking other measures to make sure that the farmers are not worse off. I mean, we're talking about the fact that these subsidies that the farmers are getting, very unprecedented, it's never happened. If you take the 5 years, the amount of money the government has spent on the subsidies alone, it's equivalent to nearly $500 million US, and this is by the taxpayer. It's never happened. The magnitude of the support that the Akufo-Addo government is giving to these farmers is never happened in the history of this country, even pre-colonial. So it's a major step, and the transformation, I see it. I don't sit in the office all the time. I make sure that every year, all the 16 regions, I visit them, I go out into the farms, I talk to the stakeholders, processors, and so on. We're making fantastic progress. And I think that is something which is acknowledged by most Ghanaian farmers and stakeholders, except maybe a few.
Do you feel there's a consultation? Just a quick question. You said that before you were even vetted, you knew you were going to do PFJ.
Yes.
So when you hear people like GAU, Peasant Farmers Association, Food Sovereignty Ghana, make comments about either the consultation for the Planting for Food and Jobs, or they feeling that a policy is not going well, could it be that they felt uninvolved in the policy, for which reason each time you hear them comment on the issues, you don't seem to be on the same page with them?
No, the thing is that in Ghana, whatever you do, you get people say that shouldn't. The vision and the drive should be there. If nobody was criticizing, I'll be very surprised. I'll be looking for people to come and criticize. So they're doing a fantastic job. That does not mean that we should deviate from what we are doing. But especially when you see demonstrably that the policy is working.
But some of them are pretty interesting. So you have Peasant Farmers Association, quite a significant group. Food Sovereignty Ghana, you could say it's a CSO.
Talking about,
then you have General Agricultural Workers Union.
You're talking about Peasant Farmers being a significant group. How many farmers are in the Peasant Farmers Association?
Well, I mean,
let's be very honest. Look, the last census of agriculture was in 2018, which I superintended. First time in 37 years we've had agricultural census. Total number of farm households in Ghana, 3.2 million. How many of them are in the Peasant Farmers Association? Please, you have to take things into perspective. People hide behind big names and pretend that they are speaking for a certain group of people.
So you are in touch with the farmers on the ground. But so even if the associations claim they've not been consulted, you are working with the farmers.
No, but I'm saying I'm getting first-hand information to the extent that nobody in this country or anywhere in the world has the kind of information I have on Ghanaian agriculture. So if you are saying something which is relevant to what is happening to the information we are getting, yeah, you are prepared to. But if you are...
So what is your reaction to the accusation that you don't listen? Because you're an agriculturist and you're an Agric economist and you're a farmer, you tend not to listen to what people like these groups say.
What are they saying?
Some of them say you need to reconsider the approach to PFJ, for example. I read a couple of stories like that.
I mean, who says we are not listening to that?
Well, maybe they haven't heard from you.
We have a whole directorate for policy making. So all these things come to them and we factor it into things. The fact that we don't come out and say, oh, these people said this, so we are doing it for them. We spend all your time doing that. We have to be focused. We have to follow the vision. And as I say, as far as we are concerned, the vision is in the point of realization. I mean, I was in Dubai 2 weeks ago. Come and see the number of people who came to listen to the investors and so on about Ghanaian agriculture, the new opportunities is coming. You'll be amazed. See, we tend to criticize ourselves, but those outside, they really see that Ghana is really beating a path to progress in agricultural transformation in Africa. As far as Barbados and all those people, they come to us to find out what is Planting for Food and Jobs that they can carry out. Sierra Leone, Liberia, they've been here. So if they recognize what we are doing and our own people are saying, oh, this and that, and you are shaking, no shaking.
So you are very clear that the Agric sector under your direction is headed in the right place.
I'm surprised by your question because I thought you would be the first to admit.
I wanted you to. No, I want you to. No, I want you to affirm based on what you've said. We'll take a short break. We'll come back and read some questions. I need to tell you that your interview has generated a lot of interest. A lot of people have sent questions. We will not be able to ask all, but there are a few questions that we'll read out. And then there are also interesting views about what you will do after this. So, as I said, as we travel around the country, we saw your posters. And it seems very clear that you are throwing your hat into the ring to be MPP flag bearer. Where does that sit and what's going to happen? We'll deal with some of those as well. We're talking to the Minister for Agric, Dr. Afriyie, and he's answering all our questions. Stay with us.
3 and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag CitiCBS.
This is still the Citi Breakfast Show. Today we are hosting the Minister for Agric, and he is answering questions on the sector that he oversees, one of the largest sectors in the country, Dr. Afriyie Akoto. For those of you who do not know, he is the son of the great Owusu Akoto, for whom the Akoto lectures are done, himself being one of the forebears of the, I think it's the NLC. NLM, National Liberation Movement.
Founder and leader
of
National
NLM.
Liberation Movement.
And he was the Asanteanist linguist. Are you also a linguist?
No. We are matrilineal, you know.
Okay. But you are still in the court of the Asante.
Of course.
You are still in the court of the Asante. Amazing stuff. Some people think that your close relationship with the president favors you than other people, because I think he said a few times that people who aspire to be president should resign, but it doesn't seem to apply to you. Have you heard that criticism before? And what's your comment?
Has anybody resigned because of that statement?
No, but I think a couple of them were not retained. I think Mr. Jogate was not given a post, even though he had a post in the first term. And there are reports that the trade minister may resign soon. That's what we've heard so far. Is this something you're contemplating? Because as I said, as I travel around the country, I saw your posters. So it suggests to me there's already some work going on the ground about what possibly could happen after, at least as the MPP primaries approaches. So what's your thinking around all of that, the president, the flag bearership, as you also oversee this sector?
I must say that the assignment given to me by the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is an assignment which is of prime importance to me, and I'm focusing on that to make sure that his second term is a great success for the people of Ghana.
Oh, is that all? But you do admit that the government is going through some serious economic challenges as we speak.
It's not only this government, all over the world. The turmoil brought about by COVID. Secondly, with this Ukraine crisis, every government is suffering.
But we seem to be suffering more. If you look
not necessarily.
our debt position.
Well, yes, I mean, the debt position is something which is worrying. I mean, we borrowed quite significantly. It's affecting our service of the debt with our revenues and all that. But I'm very confident that we will overcome.
And our fiscals are not looking good. What do you think of the e-levy and the challenges? I know this is not in Agric, but I'm just asking because you were in Parliament before. There are tight numbers in Parliament. It doesn't look as though the e-levy will be passed anytime soon. And it seems to be one of the revenue strategies the government was at least proposed in the budget.
Yes.
What are your thoughts around how we deal with this, the fiscal challenges we're facing as a country with the e-levy and where it is now?
Well, the e-levy will be passed.
You are confident?
Oh, absolutely. It will be passed, and it will be good for the people of this country. It will bring a lot of people outside the tax net into the net, which is where any modern state, nation state should be. That only 12, 15, 13% of Ghanaian taxpayers are paying tax is something which is totally untenable, especially even by West African standards where the average is 22, 24%, and we are doing just about half of that. we need to rein in on those who are outside the tax. You and I pay taxes. Majority of Ghanaians don't, and that's unfair. And also at the same time, our expectation of government services are rising by the day, skyrocket, and we need roads, we need this, we need that. So where is the money going to come from? It should come from ourselves. So the e-levy is breaking a cycle of a serious attempt to bring in as many taxpayers as possible. And it's a very noble gesture that should be praised rather than being condemned by.
But if you look at
people.
the cost of living in Ghana now, fuel prices, unprecedented levels, Citi depreciating very rapidly.
That is the even more reason why we should have the e-levy, because these are not. We are talking about situations like fertilizers and petrol and all that, which we import. We are at the mercy of the international market, and if they are skyrocketing, where do you expect that to come from, the Ghanaian taxpayer? Yesterday I was reading about the UK petrol prices. They've hit record levels, although they are major exporters of oil. So if major exporters of oil are increasing prices at the pump, we as importers, net importers of oil, what do you expect?
But should the brunt of all of that be felt by the end consumer? For
Why
example,
not? I mean, we are the citizens of this country. We have to pay for it.
but if you look at, for example, the benchmark price we used in our oil projection in the budget, which is around $56, and the oil is now over $100.
Exactly.
There's a windfall in terms of what we produce. Some people think you can use that windfall to cushion
Look,
consumers.
Net, we are a deficit. We are a net importer. Whether you export or import, we are from the same market. So if you are importing more than you're exporting, how do you have a windfall? There's no windfall.
In terms of the percentage of the oil we own,
Well, what is the percentage? It's 13%, 15%, 18%. Yeah, but I'm saying that the volumes, what you own is, let's put it that aside. We are trading. We are importing, we are exporting. And we are saying that at the end of the day, we are importing more than we are exporting. So where is the windfall?
can the MPP say that proudly they are better managers of the economy? Because that was one of the things you campaigned with. The Citi is just been racing to... It's lost. I mean, it's lost so much value to the dollar. Indeed, it was rated the worst currency among about 25, as was compared by Bloomberg. I mean, clearly the MPP has to eat humble pie and admit that it wasn't as great as managing the economy as it made us believe.
Well, the thing is that COVID never came for 100 years. So it happens in our time, and until then, we're doing
But COVID
extremely
affected
well.
every country. So how
Yes,
come our
exactly.
currency is the worst? The
Yes.
other countries that the currencies are better, didn't COVID
Yeah,
occur there?
but the thing is that if Ghanaian taxpayers were paying their taxes, we wouldn't go borrowing. You understand? So if the rest of the...
So you're blaming the Ghanaians for not paying But if your currency is depreciated, how do you blame Ghanaian taxpayers for that?
It's all part of the equation. It's all part of the equation.
Really?
We wouldn't- Of course.
When you were in opposition and you were telling us that if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, you didn't say it was a question of taxes. You said it was a question of economic management.
Yeah, but it's all part of it. I'm saying that the externalities that we are facing as a country, I mean, since the Second World War, no country has gone in and invaded another country with such openness and I don't careism attitude. The whole world is condemning Russia. They still are in Ukraine, bombing civilians and all that. It's never happened.
But that's not
for a
unique
long
to
time.
Ghana.
No. It's economic implications is what I'm talking
But
about.
is our exposure to Ukraine and Russia more than other countries,
Yes,
other neighboring countries?
I think so. Because
In what sense?
In the sense that gas, the Russia supplies a substantial amount of gas to the West for fertilizer and so on. Yara is closing down its factories because they find the prices totally unprofitable. So fertilizer shortages on the global market leading to huge and so on. You know, all these things come together. But I'm saying that if Ghana was 22% 24% of Ghanaian taxpayers were paying their tax like the average West African, we wouldn't be in this situation.
So you are blaming the Ghanaian taxpayer for the economic malaise we are in, including the falling currency.
That's one of the problems that we have. So the e-levy has a lot of significance for us, that psychologically, if we're able to bring e-levy on, the Ghanaian taxpayer will...
But maybe then the government should lead by example, cut down on its size. You had a large number of ministers in the first term. The government has been asked to account for money spent, received during COVID. It hasn't done that. So if the government is talking about people not paying taxes, maybe the government should lead by example by being more transparent with its expenditure.
And not only that, we are talking about 20% cut in our budget across board. That one you don't talk about. 20% of my ministry's budget has been cut as part of the measures to reduce expenditure. That's very significant.
And that affects the end user. We're talking about the size of government machinery, not the programs of the ministry, which affects the farmer. So it's coming back to us. We're talking about the number of ministers, the number of cars, the upkeep of the state.
No, but you have to understand that in the first term, there are less number of ministers in this government in the second term than in the first term. You have to admit that. That's a fact.
So it's an admission that the first one was too large.
Well, whatever it is, you learn on the job. You start by doing something, and you find that you need to make adjustments. You make the adjustments. If you stick to the same format, then you are saying that you are not a listening government. But we bring in all these factors in, including the latest, which is a 20% cut. Even in the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, our budget has been cut. And that shows you the determination of this government to cut expenditure to meet the new situation that we find ourselves in.
Will we come out of this? I'm appealing to the economic side. This seems to be unprecedented terrain. Fuel prices 11, we are told it's going to cross the 10 mark. Citi is trading almost 8 to the dollar. These are uncharted waters.
Uncharted waters, but the first 4 years of this government, we had one of the lowest rises in the Citi exchange rate. Do you realize that? It's only the last few months that the Citi has suddenly taken a dip. So you have to acknowledge where our contribution has been.
Well, I used the trend analysis. When you took over, the Citi was around 3.6. It's now getting to 8. So as an economist,
fuel prices.
So when you look at the long term, if you look at the 8 years or maybe the past 10 years, the trend is in one direction. So I'm afraid I can't give you the acknowledgement you're asking for.
Yeah, but I think you have to give it to me because of two things, because of the COVID. See, a lot of what is happening, the high expenditure, trying to control the COVID, saving lives, and all that, obviously had an impact on government finances. And of course, for instance, cocoa exports were hit. Normally, by the end of December, you have 3/4 of our cocoa sold. Last year, you had to go to Tema and Takrady Post to see that the stocking up of cocoa. And that, all these things have a net impact on the performance of the economy. And those things were not the making of this government. We had to really make sure that we minimize the impact on the ordinary citizen. So something has to give. And unfortunately, it happens to be the rapid deterioration of the currency in the last few months. So,
Honorable Minister, some people have also said that beyond the fact that we are not raising enough taxes, there's a lot of waste also in the system. For example, we'll zero in on things that have got to do with your ministry. We said we're doing one village, one dam. There were concerns with the execution of that particular project. We said we're building warehouses. We started sometime in 2018. We are in 2022. Turnaround time, within a year or two, you should be able to have warehouses in place to ensure storage is done. You are now telling us that you have new warehouses in place. Even fertilizer, policing our fertilizer and ensuring that they are not smuggled. We didn't do a good job. So even though we spent $500 million, a lot of them went to waste.
That's
so
When you say a lot of them were with
Okay.
I would take serious.
There's a lot of smuggling.
Difference
You admit
with
that.
But Honorable, you admitted to us that there's been a lot of smuggling as well, with people
but
even
that doesn't mean-
using
that
donkeys to.
No, that doesn't mean that a lot of that money went waste. I would totally.
Fair enough,
agree
but the
with
general
you.
point
In
he's making, you can address.
This issue about smuggling started 2018, got to a peak in 2019. We take very drastic measures. 24 districts along the borders on the eastern side with Togo and the north. We excluded them from direct purchasing, trading of fertilizer. We reduced the size of the subsidized fertilizer from 50 kilogram bags to 25 kilogram bags with a huge print on it, planting for food and jobs with a yellow label, so that if you find it in the market in Togo, you know that it's a smuggled item. We did all kinds of things based on the advice of the International Fertilizer Authority, who came here, advised us. We took all these measures, and the whole thing just went down. Now, with what was driving it was the fact that we are the only country in West Africa subsidizing imports. That you go to Togo, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, there's no subsidy on fertilizer. And ours has down by 50%. So the economic
Incentive to take it out was there.
Was huge.
Fair enough.
Now, we are now adjusting, because of what has happened, adjusting the subsidy rates and so on. And with all these measures, fiscal measures we've taken, banning fertilizer along the borders and so on, I can tell you that, of course, you cannot completely eliminate smuggling.
Can you address the dam point it raises, though? Because I feel for a big project like PFJ, the dam project could possibly have been managed by even the ministry. It somehow was in a different ministry, and there's been many questions about where are the dams. I don't know if you've satisfied yourself that that project has complemented the planting project that you are in charge of in the right way. In retrospect, could it have been done differently?
Well, of course, it could have been done differently, but don't forget that it's only one aspect of irrigation, of dam and irrigation that we have. With the three major irrigation projects in this country, in Bongo and Pound left bank, right bank, have been rehabilitated at a cost of $105 million and now has a much bigger acreages for farmers to farm and all that. So those are major achievements that we have done. These small village dams are only a small component of that. So
the large-scale irrigation projects are more impactful to the Agric sector than the smaller dams.
Yeah, in terms of acreages. See, the
Tunnel via
the tunnel
Olugu.
via is yet to be happy. The tunnel went from 2,000 hectares to 3,500 hectares. West Bank went from 1,900 to another 3,000, and the right bank also the same. Now they are all completed. They're just about to be handed over to us, and even before then, farmers are on it. So it's given a total of something like 10,000 hectares. Now, these small dams that we are talking about, if you put all the acreages that they could service, it's not even 500 hectares. See, so you have
So it's probably gotten more attention than it deserves.
Yes,
The focus should have been on the larger dams, because that's where the acreage
where
is.
the production is.
Well,
coming from.
I didn't coin the phrase. It was phrased by your party people. They call it one village, one dam, and made a whole fanfare about it, which is why probably the expectations are higher than the reality suggests. So I'll give Kojo the last
There's
question.
a message from cashew farmers in my region.
Cashew farmers,
Yes,
the last question.
and they are saying that for the first time, a price has been fixed by the government, and the government is trying to help them recoup their investment.
So what's the price?
I think that's 5 Ghana cedis per kilogram.
Minimum.
Yes, minimum. So, because previously was
So
around,
who buy your cashew from the farm?
there are different aggregators who buy the cashew. So it means that now the farmer is going to make profit, because at a point it dropped to 2-3 cedis, and your production cost per kilogram was 2-3 cedis.
Right.
And was that you or trade?
So now it's been done.
Because in the previous government, it was the trade minister that was trying to ban the export of cashew.
Yes, but now it's this government.
So you've taken cocoa, you've taken cashew.
I've taken
You've
everything.
taken everything. We'll leave it here. Thank you. I notice you are not here to talk about other things, so we'll probably bring you back to discuss those issues as the time evolves. Today is for farmers. Thank you for talking to us, Dr. Afriyie Akoto, former MP for Kwadaso, and also the Minister for Agriculture. He passed through the breakfast show. We only gave him water. He didn't get breakfast, but thank you.